Hello guys, so I wanted to do a video on the Skywind dev diary. Now, Skywind is a very exciting project, and in my personal opinion, which means fuck all, I believe these guys have a much harder job than the guys that are making Sky Oblivion. It's not really because there's more to do, well, there is a lot more to do. You see, Oblivion was the turning point for Bethesda games where it's pretty much like your modern day games now. You know, that was their modern day jump into the roleplay games. Morrowind itself is a very old styled roleplay game where it's all text to text, it's hit chance, it's not really voiced, you know, it's more of a land where your imagination really captures what's around you and who's talking and this and that. It's very old style. I mean, you swing your sword, it doesn't, you know, it physically might look like it's hitting them, but it's not based on that. It's based on a hit chance, on your stats and stuff like that. Where Oblivion is you physically swing your sword, and every time your sword meets the criteria of being on that range, in that direction, it will always hit. So things like Skyrim, pretty much, it was, you know, is birthed from Oblivion, and Fallout 3 and Fallout 4 and all those sort of games are sort of what you'd consider being a modern day single player game. Morrowind was not. So these guys have to try and adapt to Morrowind, its story, its gameplays, its spells, its mechanics, its guilds, and all of the NPCs into a modern day version of what you'd expect if Morrowind was remade today. That's probably why when you look at like the news from Bethesda when they're going to remake Oblivion, they've got remakes of, I think it's Oblivion and I'm not sure everything else, but they haven't got a remake for Morrowind because the remake would need to be a complete and utter redo. What these guys are doing with Skywind, because what Skywind's doing, well, it's a lot more advanced than what Sky Oblivion is doing with their mod. Sky Oblivion is able to use the voice assets they're able to use the voice assets from Oblivion when you're using the Sky Oblivion mod. So you'll still hear the Oblivion voices and you'll still hear the Oblivion music. Everything else is remade, but you're able to use what's already there, saves working on time, spending years or months, or I'd say a good year or two, getting voice actors to fit the roles of all the hundreds of characters there are, with only, what, naturally it was like 9 voice actors in Oblivion. But, I apologise, I got a bit of a crook throat. And all that sort of stuff. So let's get into these guys, because I've never actually played Morrowind. I've never played it. And this has been my first chance to play it, just like many characters, many players, many people will have the first chance to play Oblivion, that the very first Elder Scrolls game was Skyrim. Skyrim was my first Elder Scrolls game, not Skyrim, Oblivion, and I can't wait to play Sky Oblivion. But I'm also excited to one day see this, especially from the times that we come from, you know, in the modern day Skyrim, the island of Vardenfell is gone boom. That volcano right in front of us in the image has exploded, and everything around it is lava filled, covered in ash, and Mournhold is destroyed. So you're pretty much playing Morrowind on the island of Vardenfell. It's not the full Morrowind, because they couldn't do it back then. You're on the island of Vardenfell, which is pretty much the centerpiece of Morrowind. And like I said, in modern day Skyrim, this entire place is a ruin. This is all destroyed. It's pretty much lifeless. It's just lava and ash and fire. But being able to go back in time and see what it looked like before it all went to shit, including Elder Scrolls Online, is very exciting. So these guys are very much like Oblivion, the remake of Oblivion. They're doing a shit ton of work, more work than they are, I dare say. But they're keeping original systems like levitation spells, jump spells, and the armor pieces. So with Oblivion, what they're basically doing, Sky Oblivion, they're using the old armor system from Skyrim. So they're not having, in Oblivion it was shirt, pants, boots, gloves and a helmet. In Morrowind it was crazy. It was like left, right arm, leg, shoulder, and then you got shirt, pants, belt, helmet. Like you had so much customization. And they're keeping that here in the remake for this one, which Sky Oblivion isn't. But let's get into it, because I don't want to spend 10 to 15 minutes talking about it. Let's get and see what these mad lads have been doing with the remake to fit an old action role-playing game into, well, a modern-day Bethesda game, or a modern-day Elder Scrolls game.
Over the past few years, Skywind's development team has poured more hours than we can count into bringing our vision to life. Many of our followers have been
Alien
eager
doesn't look,
for a
man.
more
So
in-depth
it's
look
kind of like
at the
Tatooine
project.
in a way.
So join us today as we break down our current progress and what lies ahead. But how did Skywind come to be? As soon as Skyrim was released, the folks behind More Oblivion started discussing the prospect of porting More Oblivion into Skyrim.
Well, that's interesting because I never even knew about this, and I was playing Oblivion, I think, for a couple of years before Skyrim came out. And I think I've seen someone on the Sky Oblivion, and I'm not going to name names, Sky Oblivion Sky Oblivion Discord, where someone's actually got the More Oblivion port in their Oblivion. So they've got an old version of what they had completed at the time. But how do they port it over? Like, how do you port an ESP from another game into another game? I know they're very similar in terms of gameplay and stuff like that, but I don't know, maybe they just had to redo it all. But so this project actually started before even Skyrim came out. Yeah, it did. It started before Skyrim even came out. And then you've got the team at like Sky Oblivion that started in, 2012? Or was it 14? I think it was 12. I don't really properly remember, but Jesus Christ, this has been in the works for a while. And again, it needs to be because it's an entirely different game to what we have today with Skyrim. Entirely different way it was played. And it's just, like, if you haven't played it like myself, if you've ever played any old action role-playing games, like even think about Star Wars and Knights of the Republic. That's an old style, not really super old, but it's an old styled RPG, and that's kind of what field Morrowind was in.
With that, the project was born, and it needed naming. Skyrim, Morrowind, and Morrowind
Look at that,
all
Morrowind.
had their
Is that
supporters.
Oblivion's engine?
But eventually,
It is.
Skywind
Crazy.
won out. Work on Skywind was being undertaken without a consensus on whether the project should remain a More Oblivion port or a fresh remake with all new assets. This led to a level of fragmentation within the project. In 2013,
I can actually
the
see that,
first
yeah.
public alphas began
Because
to be released.
you don't want to restart your stuff, and maybe
A
you're a
year
big
later,
fan of Oblivion
the
and you
decision
don't want
was
to go to
made to
Skyrim.
remove the build from public access, in response to an ongoing flood of duplicate bug reports, support requests, and continued disagreement about the use of ported assets, which made up the bulk of the build. By 2016, discussion among several core contributors yielded a consensus
Look at that.
that simply replacing ported assets with fresh ones wasn't enough to rejuvenate Morrowind. This is where the journey of Skywind's current form begins, a
Wow.
fresh reimagining with
More
modern
old.
standard assets. But our main mode of communication
You know what's going to be really interesting about this project and beyond Skyrim Morrowind? Being able to go to Vardenfell and even to Mournhold and see it just being a crater, because there's a massive ass rock hovering over the city that's held up by Vivek or one of the tribunal, and when the tribunal are no longer worshipped, he drops it, you know, pretty much hostage, just like, worship me as your god or I fucking drop this rock on you. And it's going to be so cool seeing what was once full of life, a big beautiful city, and seeing what's come of it as a wasteland kind of like.
was still the forum. This meant sporadic bursts of individual work without instant support from fellow volunteers. We soon switched from forum chat to Discord, where development was able to start gaining a lot more steam. By mid-2016, Arizarn released the first version of his Havoc-enabled NIF plugin, finally opening the door to custom skeletons and animations in the Skyrim engine.
When people start combining words like NIF, plugin, and Havoc, my eyes sort of glaze over. Any chance someone could explain what it does?
You know, all the new creatures people create in Skyrim are all reskinned existing creatures. The giant flying chickens are dragons. This means people can create entirely new creatures. Someone could make a humanoid race with 4 arms that all work.
Okay, now that is cool.
In October
That sounds so
2016,
simple.
Skyrim Special Edition was released. There was initial uncertainty about whether Skywind could or should be ported over. When Skyrim Script Extender 64 was stabilized and ready for use in 2018, we took the plunge. This shift allowed us to leverage
Man,
the
they've gone through, like,
stability,
3 games.
improved graphics,
Oblivion,
and
Skyrim,
support for modern
now
systems
Special Edition.
offered by the Special Edition.
Look how beautiful that is though, man. Like, it's a bit like a savanna, you know. I didn't really think Morrowind had any of those, where it kind of feels like you're in a nice, like, plains of Africa or something like that, with a bit of an alien touch, like a bit of a dinosaur touch to it, and it's just, it's beautiful, isn't it? Like, anyone that hasn't played Morrowind or Elder Scrolls Online, you see Morrowind is just some ashy pit. That's really my first interpretations of it, but it's got a very alienous, ancient sort of modern-day beauty to it.
but also took a lot of time and work. Since then, many advances have been made. Volunteers have come and gone, and today we're closer than ever before.
Awesome.
But what's actually been done so far? Let's dive into how each department is coming along as of 2024.
This is good. Well, look, 2D is very important.
Almost all base game concept
also
art is now
concept art.
complete, including creatures,
And anything that's brand new into any sort of fantasy movie, whatever the hell you call it, it all starts from here. It all starts from fantasy art. It all starts from art written by someone's imagination, drawn into the real world, and then some 3D modelers, they make it I wouldn't say physical, they make it a in-game asset. And so, you know, without 2D art, we go absolutely nowhere.
clothing, weapons,
That's some
Armor.
fearsome looking mace.
food, flora, and statues. We're still working on the Redoran interior tile set, which should be finalized soon.
Nice.
In addition to this, our 2D artists have created in-game paintings, book covers, book illustrations, posters, murals, and loading screens to further enrich
Nice.
the world.
Well, I like the paper loading screens like Oblivion had.
As such, we are no longer actively seeking 2D artists.
Look at that. Oh, I don't think they got left as concept art.
We now have over 13,000 custom 3D assets in the game, with around 550 left to build. But these assets are not created equal. One is the Dwemer Centurion, while another is a single plane floor tile. Here are some pieces we've recently completed.
There's the 4 armored thingy bob. That's a beautiful bow, man. Skyrim is really lacking any sort of beautiful bows in that game. I think there's only like one unique bow, and it's just a painted black Dwemer bow. I think that's all it is. It's the only unique bow in all of Skyrim, as far as I can remember. It's Skyrim really dropped the ball when it came to, well, I believe because it came out a year or two too early, but when it came to unique assets, it didn't have many of them. And there was only like one shield, I think, that was actually unique, which was like the blooded Taaj you find off the Redguard woman when she's treasure hunting, trying to find like an Elder Scroll or some shit. Well, you're trying to find an Elder Scroll, but yeah, it's at least for projects like these, Sky Oblivion and Skywind, they're remaking all these assets, and even if they're uniquely named, they get a unique their own unique asset. These potions look cool. Crossbows! Scamps? I don't know what the hell that is. Maybe that's...
Our main backlog is clothing, which accounts for over 2/3 of the remaining non-tile set work. Tile sets are essential, as without them, the level design team can't start work on any inhabited areas.
How gorgeous this place, man. So alien. It kind of feels like you're in Star Wars almost. but
27
fantasy.
of 30 tile sets are now complete.
That's beautiful. Imperials. So I think the Empire, Morrowind at this time is still part of Empire, right? But it's kind of not in control. They're there, but they're not in control. I think it's the 3 houses. I don't exactly know what they all are. I think it's like Indoril, Redoran, and I don't remember the other one. But the Empire's obviously here because Morrowind is part of the Empire, but they're not directly controlled by the Emperor, like, say, the High King of Skyrim is. You know, the High King of Skyrim owes their fealty to the Emperor. With the Houses of Redoran, they let the Empire in, and there's a very different culture between them as far as I've seen. And I've learnt this from Skywind, that, you know, there's posters all around Morrowind. There's that in the basic English, which is for travellers, and there's that in the Daedric, which is for the natives of Morrowind. And there's kind of this different culture where it's like, you know, the Imperials are the outsiders, and the Dark Elves are the natives. There's a very different, you'll notice that difference in culture where you don't really with Skyrim. Again, they are both human races in Skyrim, you know, that are fighting the war, but I guess you get to see that with the humans and the elves interacting, especially if they're, like, this is an Imperial fort, an Imperial castle, and it looks beautiful, man. And I didn't even know this beforehand, that, Morrowind was more based on the Roman, like, the Imperials are more based on the Romans, where when I played Oblivion, they're like fully plated up and they kind of look Greekish almost, and all their guards looked knights, like like medieval soldiers. So when I played Skyrim for the first time when I was 17, I was like, holy shit, man, these guys are Roman soldiers now. But you learn so much looking at previous games. I'm not too interested in Daggerfall or I forgot another one, Arena, but Morrowind's definitely going to be a beautiful one to play when it's on the Skyrim engine. Mornold's a massive place apparently. I've only been there in Elder Scrolls Online. Daedric Ruins. Only been there in
Left to do
Elder Scrolls
is the
Online.
Redoran interior tile set and the interior and exterior stronghold tile set.
I do wonder though, will those Daedric Ruins be like built from certain Daedras? So if you go, say there's like 4 or 5 or 6 Daedric Ruins in this place, will you go into these and they'll be built either for a certain Daedric prince, or they all be sort of black ebony with red lighting, or will I walk into one that's... Because I don't think they'd worship them at a certain time. More like Baal and Miriam's Dagon would have been worshipped as like the bad corners, but will there be ones to like Boethia and the actual Daedric princes like Azura that very heavily meddled in the Chima and the Dunmer's history? Would they kind of worship as their gods?
That said, the final assets comprise some of the most complex and specialized pieces in the game, so this shouldn't be taken as an indication that the department will be finished soon. Implementation merges art, mechanics, and audio in the game engine, turning the assets the team has created into playable in-game experiences. We've faithfully revived Morrowind's armor with 14 armor slots. Skyrim...
Yeah, so this right here, right?
Had
This is what I'm
6.
talking about.
Yes, Pauldron.
Oh, damn, I paused at the wrong time. So where's it gets me? So, as you can see, you got boots, greaves, skirt, belt, skirt, eh? Wouldn't that be part... Oh, well, skirt could be the clothing. The cuirass, which is your chest piece, robes, left pauldron, left on a right... So you don't have left and right boots. I guess that's alright, because that'd be kind of weird, That'd be certainly weird. It'd be like wearing odd socks. Or backward shoes. But as you can see, they're returning that to what it used to be, which is awesome. They might even add rings and amulets and stuff like that, of course, which were, are added things for jewelry. But yeah, it's that they're keeping that function back, and the reason why they could do that back then is because everyone used the same. Well, mostly everyone used the same body meshes, the same model. It wasn't a weight slider. There wasn't one 0 to 100 or thin to fat to heavy. It was all the one body, so they could really get away with it, which is going to be a bit tough for these guys because they now have to make all these individual armor pieces work together on also a weight slider, which is more of a pain in the ass, so good on them.
Skyrim had 6. Yes, pauldrons are making a return. You can even mix left and right pieces to create the fashionable outfits of your dreams.
Nice.
Another major undertaking has been adding facial animations to our
Golden Saints, right? So this is a Golden Saint. Now, again, I never played Morrowind, and that's where they first showed up. And in Morrowind, they actually look like sort of golden Daedra. They don't look human. They look very, or even elvish. They look very sort of like a golden statue, which talks. Where in Oblivion they looked a lot more elven-like, and they had sort of yellow skin and golden armor. So it's kind of cool that they're recreating Morrowind's version of the Golden Saints. And if anyone has an issue with it, obviously you just change them. You change their race to work with whatever pleases you. Like, I would personally change them to the Skyrim one with the creation kit, where I've made my own mod for that, but I would change it and look a bit more, I guess, elvish-like in a certain way, because Morrowind was my first game. But it's cool to see they're bringing back the Golden Saints.
custom creatures, without which many creatures would not be able to emote or move their mouths while talking. We've also started implementing custom hairstyles in the game. Skywind operates using monthly merges, where we pool our progress and update the build so everyone can work from the same foundation and use these implemented assets to bring the game to life. We typically only have 1 or 2 active asset implementers available, so we're always looking out for help in this department. With most tile sets now being completed, and most clutter having been designed by the 2D and 3D team, level design is well underway.
That's
Many
gorgeous.
regions are finalized and undergoing quality assurance, or QA, and peer review.
So, anyone like myself that hasn't actually played Morrowind, or hasn't even bothered... This is actually good. I love this look. This looks so different and unique to Skyrim, which I love.
Many regions are finalized and undergoing quality.
But that right there is Mournhold of the distance, and that giant ass rock is the one hovering, that Vivek, I think it might be Vivek, I don't remember, is keeping above it, sort of hostages and worship me. And I wonder what this place like, you always think about what does this place look like now, you know? What do all these cities, temples look like in the current Skyrim timeline when it's been ruined by a volcano and this rock would have came down on the city and just slaughtered everybody. But already the area looks pretty shit, you know, it looks like it's on fire. But imagine, like, probably Vardenfell is probably just like a massive smoking heap of shite.
Quality assurance, or QA, and peer review.
So alien, man, I love it.
Others are receiving finishing touches, including manual placement of details.
Like, man, it looks like the Savannah, man. It looks like there'd be lines running around and shit, you know? Like, it feels like Savannah, but also with a bit of, touch of, like, ancient dinosaur flora, sorry. Yeah, it, like, these trees look ancient as shit, while it also feels like you're somewhat in some sort of savannah, and that looks awesome. I don't think, like, they got some very alien creatures in Morrowind, so I don't think they got, like, lions or anything like that. They'll probably have wolves, and I don't think they do, eh? It's very alien, the place. I mean, I don't think there's a natural creature there that fantasy normally uses like Skyrim does, with wolves, foxes and all that. It's pretty much, I don't know. I don't know too much about it, but they are very alienoid creatures, kind of fit for the Morrowind aesthetic of making it feel very different, very fantasy, but also its own type of fantasy.
And starting QA.
That feels like Tatooine right there, man.
Most of the remaining areas are over 60% complete, with blocked layouts, clutter, and some details
That's
added.
gorgeous.
We also have 1,032 interiors to design, including settlements, cities, houses, shops, caves, forts, tombs, and yurts. Most interiors are well underway, though some areas are delayed due to awaiting tile sets. Vivek City's exterior is mostly
there you
done.
go. I called it Mournhold. It's actually Vivek City, and that's the dude, Vivek, that keeps it up. He would have been bashing him that for sure for saying that beforehand. Mournhold. Yeah, I've been to Mournhold. I know what it looks like. It's like the head of the Daggerfall Goblin City in Elder Scrolls Online. It's like the capital or some shit, I think. I'm pretty sure.
But needs adjustments due to NPC scheduling, quests, and dialogue. Interior spaces in Vivek are actively being worked on. Towns and villages are generally complete, except for Redoran interiors awaiting the tile set and one Redoran exterior needing more work. Ashlander Camp's level design is now complete and undergoing quality assurance.
Nice.
Most Imperial Fort interiors are in progress.
Look at that. That's gorgeous, man. I'm saving Empire for sure. Like, I thought if I play this game, I'll have like a Dark Elven character, but maybe it might even be an Imperial, because you're on an Imperial ship being delivered to Morrowind. I don't know why. I don't know why they sent you there, 'cause I haven't looked into it, but it might be the perfect game to play a reincarnated version of the Navarine, whatever it's called, as a human male, because again, eventually you become an immortal, I'm pretty sure.
Except for Ebonheart, which is awaiting special pieces for the tile set. Nav meshing involves crafting navigation paths, or nav meshes,
Yuck.
which guide game characters through the world. This system helps characters calculate efficient routes while avoiding obstacles, preventing them from getting stuck. In essence, it defines where non-player characters can move. Optimization sets room boundaries, or occlusion planes, instructing the computer on rendering in-game content. enhancing performance by rendering only necessary portions at a time. Here's how the exterior nav meshing process has progressed since 2020. Work on nav meshing interiors has also begun, but isn't as far along, as level design is not yet as complete in these areas.
Honestly, if you do nav mesh, you're a fucking hero. You're an unsung hero, is what you are. You're like the dude that, saved people's lives, but no one knew who the hell you were, and then you find out 20 years later that who this person was. Nav meshing is the ugliest thing when it comes to, like... nav mesh is pretty much the ground where NPCs... They don't use their eyes, obviously, they're game bots. Their eyes are pretty much the nav mesh, is how they find their way around things, and find their targets and everything. That's how they operate. Nav mesh is their eyes. But it's an absolutely very long and pain in the ass thing to do. I've only done like interior stuff and some exterior stuff of my own sort of mods and stuff like that, but it's gross, to say the least. Very time consuming.
Custom creatures were initially fashioned from Skyrim skeletons and animations. However, Erisarn's animation tool marked a significant turning point.
Aren't those Seekers? Do we really, like... I could be wrong.
Were initially fashioned from Skyrim skeletons and animations.
Like, is that not a Seeker? Couldn't you not use... I could be different. No, that's definitely not a Seeker. But couldn't you not use the Seeker animations for that thing right there? Unless that is a Seeker? Because they're now actually, they're part of the game with Dragonborn.
However, Erisarn's animation tool marked a significant turning point, enabling the integration of entirely new creatures with unique animations.
Some of these creatures aren't going to work
in total,
with Skyrim
we plan for 15 of Morrowind's 44 creatures to have brand new, custom animations in the final game. Of those, 7 were added to the build with placeholder animations in just 2023. Prior to that, we only had 1 custom creature in the build, the Betty Natch. So this is a huge achievement. The animation team also works on custom weapon and spell animations.
Nice. They're also returning the weapons, which I forgot to mention. Oh man, Morrowind had so many weapon classes, so many different kinds of blades and throwables and stuff like that, which it's amazing to see. Spears were going to be a thing in Skyrim. Well, I don't think they were, actually. I think it was part of a modding project the development team made after they had finished the game. And you could see that in one of their videos where you see the spear animations in action. They never showed up. But I do want to say something. I did watch that video like a few weeks ago. And I saw goblins in it. I was like, oh, goblins. That was like a 2012 or 11 video. Those goblins are now in the game with Creation Club, so there very well could be a spear animation or a spear sort of combat reintroduced into Skyrim. They haven't, that's been sitting in the data files for like 13 plus years. Or even throwing weapons, because again, Creation Club. They've now got guns, for fuck's sakes.
Video game visual effects, or VFX, involve the creation and integration of stunning visual elements to enhance the gaming experience. VFX can simulate realistic physics, weather conditions, explosions, spells, and more.
Done the pie
Our
gone
main
wrong.
focus at the moment are the game's spells. "51 out of 105 spells now have custom VFX completed, with 54 left to go.
What are you doing them all, by the looks of it?
Once spells are finished, further work will need to be done to finalize our weather conditions, though these are already 95% finished and implemented.
Nice.
In addition, general lighting throughout the game will need tweaking to ensure areas have an appropriate atmospheric tone while still being practical. The other component to making spells more immersive is how they sound. But sound work doesn't stop there. From the clanking of armor to the scuttling of a creature in the distance. Our sound designers are working tirelessly to create an immersive soundscape that helps to make Vardenfell feel alive and real. These are being worked on by order of priority, but we do have a long way to go and are always looking for new volunteers to help speed this along. When it comes to music, we're dividing the work by region. Each region will have day and night music. With universal combat music.
How gorgeous is that?
And some special bonus tracks for taverns
I'll be honest,
or
the one
unique
looks like a
locations.
penis.
We currently have over 100 tracks in the game.
This right here, man. This right here is a lot of hard work, because Morrowind wasn't really voiced unless it was like by a main character or a main group of important to the story. But everyone else that wasn't part of the main story, as far as I know, it wasn't voiced. It was just basically a text-speech bar where you communicated. You sent them text, they sent you text back. But since they want to adapt it to the modern day of Bethesda games like Skyrim and Fallout 4 and Starfield and all that sort of shit, everyone needs to be voiced now. So they're doing an absolutely crack ton amount of work. And since it's a weird sort of term, but it'll make sense to you. The bigger a game gets, the smaller the content kind of seems, right? So back before they had to do voice acting and all that sort of stuff, they could fit a lot more time into making everything else. So the worlds generally felt bigger and more complete, and there was so many more people and so many more things to do. Because for some reason, the bigger games get, the more features you lose, so they kind of get smaller in a certain way. The game gets bigger, but the features get smaller. Now, apparently Morrowind had a lot more NPCs than Skyrim did, and they got to voice every last one of these ones, and that is a fucking tremendous amount of work. And man, good on them, dude, because Oblivion gets to use the Oblivion voice lines, which I think it's kind of going to suffer from, because that's not really modern anymore, having like 6 or 7 or like 12 voice actors. But these guys have to create all their own new assets, their own new voice lines, which is a shit ton of work.
Skyrim had about 1,100 NPCs, voiced by approximately 70 voice actors. Skywind has about 3,000 NPCs, voiced by...
Look at that, man. It's got 2,000 more NPCs than Skyrim has, and this is a game, at least 3 games before Skyrim came out. Again, this also doesn't count that Skyrim was released way too early, I believe, where if we would have got another 2 more years in it, it might have really matched the sort of commitment they put into Oblivion. But it was just underdone. And for me, I kind of put that into game perspective, as in Skyrim is a very cold and hospitable place. So it's, it's majority of its life there are going to be Nords that are born and raised there, born for the land, where it's not going to be a big place for foreigners unless they're, of course, hardy or have moved to a less dangerous place in Skyrim, like the south. But that's kind of how I see Skyrim being so small.
by approximately 300 voice actors.
Like 300. 300, dude. Skyrim had 70, And if a certain NPC talks to me in the game, I know what voice it is. Like, if Lydia, for example, is female even-toned, or he's Valentine Copper on he's a synth robot in Fallout 4, but he's in Skyrim. He's the voice actor, or his characters that use his voice. It's called the male cynical or something like that. I'm pretty sure. So 70 voice actors compared to 300. That is a tremendous amount of work, and holy shit, that's putting the effort in for sure.
If you do the crime, pay the fine. Don't do the time.
Word of advice. Buy a little goodwill. Lose a few drakes, gain a friend. Folks will loosen up if you'll spread a little of the Emperor's gold around.
Did you not see him as you entered? It is that Marcel Morad. Outside my shop he stands all day, selling ridiculous wares.
If you're entering unfamiliar territory and you think it might be hostile, slow down to a walk, look around, catch your breath, and be ready for trouble.
Slavery is protected by law in Morrowind. Slavery is illegal throughout the rest of the Empire.
So, he says the rest of the Empire. But see, the Empire doesn't really own Morrowind. The Three Houses do. They just let him in, and the Emperor's like, cheers, man, we're not going to stop too many of your laws. Because, again, slavery is illegal. But in Morrowind, it's not. And the Telvanni especially uses of it, and, like, yeah, the Empire doesn't even have enough say to basically make it illegal in Morrowind, because the Three Houses will say, fuck you. We're not going to join you, or we'll kick your ass out of Morrowind. We've got the people and the magic and the power to do it. So the Emperor just bites his lip and goes, rightio, we'll keep you guys united, you can have your slaves. So that's how dangerous the Three Houses are when it comes to Morrowind. That the Empire's there, and it's part of the Empire, but it's not really. It's more of a necessity for the Dark Elves to join than it was a requirement. You know, it saves all the bloodshed and all the destruction for both sides.
Here's an overview of our current progress. We're often asked about using AI voice acting to speed things up. We don't use AI voice acting. All our voice work is done by humans.
What in Almcivi's name do you need a poison like that for? Almcivi bless.
Waxuthi, look kill you! Heh. It doesn't even know our words. You don't look familiar. You looking for something?
That'd probably be Ashlander.
3 blessings, Sarah. Os eru ficarist guar, tost halduna del bargiv. I fought guars more ferocious than you. I will bathe in your blood! Your bloodline ends here!
Imagine being her next door neighbour. You heard that shit across the house, you'd call the cops.
We're making steady progress, and voice acting will actually most likely be one of the first departments to be finished. Writers play a pivotal role, adjusting dialogue from Morrowind's system to Skyrim's.
Adherence.
See right there, that was kind of your text bar. You know, that's how you communicate with NPCs in Morrowind. You basically, I think the right side was yours, maybe, and essentially they gave you text back. But with it being now trying to remake it into a modern version to kind of adapt to Skyrim, they need to voice it all.
Of the temple must show patience and wisdom. To prove you have these qualities, you must make the pilgrimage to the Sanctus Shrine. You shall be sworn to silence. If you speak with anyone before reaching the shrine, you will have broken your vow. I would warn you, there is no easy way to get to the Sanctus Shrine, and the journey can be dangerous. Before you are sworn to silence, you may wish to purchase some potions of levitation or water walking.
As well as filling gaps, expanding some existing quests, and creating new quests for faction leaders, or new features like the smithing skill.
Well, faction leaders, he probably means like miscellaneous quests like you do with the Dark Brotherhood's Night Mother quest, which was shit. Going out and basically doing things that rely to that guild. Also, the guilds in Morrowind, there was like fucking 12 or 14 of them or something like that, compared to what you got in Oblivion, and then compared to what you got in Skyrim. You get 4 guilds in Skyrim, plus 2 joinable factions like the Imperials or the Stormcloaks, but this game, since it wasn't voiced, they had a lot more time to do what they wanted to do. It had a lot more content in it compared to Oblivion and compared to Skyrim.
All 3,000 plus NPC dialogues have now been adapted to Skyrim's system. A few brand new NPCs are still in progress. Dozens of new random encounters, chats, greetings, and farewells are complete.
That's nice.
Writers contribute to world building with item descriptions and many other flavor texts. When it comes to quests, Great House Hlaalu, Redoran, and...
So that's the guild right there. That's all the guilds. I think... Oh, miscellaneous. It's probably... Oh, no, that's just questing. My bad. But, I didn't know there was vampire quests. That's pretty cool. Is there like a clan there you get to join or something? Imperial Legion, Tribunal Temple, Morag Tang. Oh, there you go. There's no Dark Brotherhood, so I don't think you can actually join the Dark Brotherhood in the Morrowind game. But the Morag Tang is kind of like the legal assassins. And they're not a cult like the Dark Brotherhood is. They're a sanctified group that is, that takes out people legally. Yeah, there's no Dark Brotherhood, so I can actually see. So, and they might be unjoinable. There might be an enemy you have to face and kill in Morrowind, where you can join them in the other games.
And Telvanni quest lines are done. Quests for the Mages Guild, Thieves Guild, Imperial Cult, Imperial Legion, Tribunal Temple, and Morag Tang are all complete, with just the Fighters Guild left to go. Daedric quests, Vampire quests, and all miscellaneous quests are done. All but the final quests in the main quest line are complete.
Nice. They must have all the landmass done. They can almost finish the main quest.
Once written, quests need to be implemented. This is done via the creation kit, setting up quest objectives, quest stages,
a lot of work,
adding
man.
the writing and dialogue, and setting up any necessary scripting. Telvanni is complete. Redoran is fully implemented, but waiting on some final level design work. Hlaalu is almost done, but getting some refinements to flesh out the more basic quests. Mages Guild, Thieves Guild, Imperial Cult, Imperial Legion, Temple, and Morag Tang quest lines are all fully implemented, but some quests still require level design work before they can be tested by QA. Miscellaneous quests, including Vampire and Daedric quests, are for the most part complete, but not yet all playable due to awaiting level design.
There you go.
The main quest is mostly implemented and playable through the Hortator and Nerevaring quests, with some bottlenecks from level design and dialogue tweaks. The main quest finale is still in early stages of development. In total, of our 490 quests, 352 are fully implemented, covering every coding detail of turning Skyrim into Skywind is beyond the scope of this video. But let's take a peek at some of the coding efforts that have shaped this project.
Speaking of that, they had to turn Skyrim into Skywind. Same thing like Skyblivion. You can't really expect to download these massive mods and expect to jump straight back into Skyrim. Things won't work or things will crash. These mods are 100% designed to be played in that setting of the previous game, right? So you don't just run around Morrowind and go back to Skyrim and become the Dragonborn. The game won't work properly because they've had to change things or break things in Skyrim for their mod to actually work. So, for example, all these projects are out: Skywind, Skyblivion, and then you got your basic Skyrim game. It's best to use a mod manager which allows you to change instances. So you can download Skyblivion on one instance and then open up that mod manager and play Skyblivion, and then same thing with Skywind, and then same thing with your ordinary Skyrim game. So you can play all three different Elder Scrolls games without having to mess around and break your shit, while having, I use Mod Organizer too, and I'll easily be able to do that, have 3 different instances for Skyrim, Skyblivion, and Skywind, so I can play whatever kind of Elder Scrolls game I want to, which would be amazing when all that comes out. It would be the most craziest modded game ever. To be able to play 3 previous Elder Scrolls games, or 3 Elder Scrolls games in the one would be nuts.
We've overhauled the UI.
That's awesome.
And introduced NPC disposition, levitation,
nice,
and mark and recall spells.
Teleportation. Nice.
As well as the intricate custom spell system. The weapons repair system, Morrowind's armor slot structure, and projectiles and spears are all back too.
Good.
For skills and perks, instead of Skyrim's constellation system, we've adopted a hybrid approach inspired by Oblivion's perks and classic Fallout, granting players new abilities every 25th skill level. For picking perks from a list with skill and level prerequisites, all 27 of Morrowind's skills have made their comeback. Most skills and spells are operational in-game, but the custom spell system still has a long way to go. We also still need to craft NPC schedules for over 3,000 characters, each with dynamic daily routines. To put this in perspective, base game Skyrim only had 1,000 characters to tackle. Additionally, a comprehensive balancing pass will be needed, refining dungeon difficulty, loot distribution, and the in-game economy. The Quality Assurance, or QA team, ensures Skywind's quality by playtesting developer work against project standards. The big focus is on interior level design and quest testing. Interior checks include nav mesh, NPC behavior, clutter, physics, and level flow. For quests, testers check different paths, including alternate approaches and quest-ending actions, like killing NPCs. They also ensure quests are completable by relying on the player journal rather than quest markers, just like in Morrowind.
I think they've said there's going to be an option to keep it a bit like Skyrim, because, like I said, old-fashioned RPG, there was no quest marker. You had to listen to you had to read what the NPC wrote in your journal and follow those directions. If you didn't, you wouldn't find what you're looking for. But hopefully there's a quest marker version, because honestly, man, I hate clues, man. I really do. I hate puzzles. Shit annoys me in a video game. Like, I just want to kill shit. I'm just a simpleton, man. I just want to point my sword at something and watch it go alive to unalive, and that works for me. I don't have to worry about looking for shit.
Completed a first pass of testing on 67% of implemented quests, and a first pass of testing on almost all finalized interior cells. The main challenge for QA is that testing can't start until areas and quests are ready to be tested. So, by design, QA will be one of the last teams to wrap up before the release. Skywind has always been an incredibly ambitious project, representing an incalculable amount of time and work, and not by a paid production team, but by volunteers in their spare time. Skywind would have never come as far as it has without the unquenchable interest and enthusiasm of our followers. We're grateful for your support, and we look forward to continuing onward as we continue to make our way to the summit of this expedition. In this place, destiny is made.
Man, the amount of work these guys have put into it is astonishing, and I honestly can't wait for the day it comes out, because it'll be my first time and chance to play Morrowind. I'm one of those gamers where it's like, I don't want to go all the way back to a potato or like some sort of really old, like, I'll get disinterested so quickly because I'm a singly focused person. Like, I don't play that many games. I play Skyrim as my single player. I occasionally might play Starfield. I still occasionally play it. But Skyrim's my main game. And then for like an online game, it'll be like an FPS or an MMO or something in between. I might fit a sec. I don't know. I just really don't care. I don't want to. Like, I love Oblivion, man, but I just can't go back to it. It's just so potato looking. I don't want to spend hours upon hours upon hours of modding it and making sure that it all goes to plan, because the modding does not go to plan at all. And the ability to be able to play Skywind, Morrowind and Skyrim is nuts. Even though I know bugger all about it, I'm still... And I don't want to. Like, I haven't searched up the storyline. I know bits and pieces of it here and there, like kind of who you kill and kind of what happens here and there, but I don't know all too that much about Morrowind, and I kind of want to leave it that way until the day this comes out. And who knows, man? I think Skyrim's gonna be one of those games where it's too triumphant over any other Bethesda game. I think it's been their absolute best game, which is really bad for them, because if something is too good, everything else that comes out after that gets criticised to the absolute living shit of what was perfect. I mean, Starfield, Fallout 4, especially Fallout 76, have been hammered by the fans. Skyrim was their last great big hit, and everything else that comes after it's being smashed. And since there hasn't been an Elder Scrolls game since, there's been so much time for people to mod the absolute crap out of Skyrim and turn it into something completely brand new. And people are still playing it to this day. New people are still buying it. People that were kids, that were like 3 or 4 years old, probably even fetuses, playing Skyrim for the first time. And experiencing it brand new with all the mods that have been backed up for the last 13 years. So I think this game, especially with mods like Skyblivion and Skywind and expansions like Beyond Skyrim, is going to keep Skyrim around for a very, very long time. And I hate to say this, because I want to be the sort of person that falls in love with the next Elder Scrolls game, but I think I'm going to be that old prick that stays around Skyrim. And I think fans are probably going to beat on the next Elder Scrolls game because it's not Skyrim. And again, they're going to compare it, because it's probably the best chance too, because it's the previous Elder Scrolls game, where they compare everything with Skyrim, even though it's Fallout or even though it's Starfield, completely different aesthetics. But I don't know, man. Like, it's gonna receive an absolute beating, unfortunately. It already has, because they released a trailer like 4 years ago for like a mountain range. But yeah, I think Skyrim, especially with mods like Skywind and Skyblivion, the ability to play other Elder Scrolls games in Skyrim is going to just infinitely keep its life around. Infinitely. I mean, you get bored of Skyrim, you jump into Morrowind. You get bored of Skyrim, you jump into Oblivion. You get bored of Oblivion, you jump back into Morrowind. So, the replayability just goes to the roof, to like to the bottom of the ocean, where we can never truly know where it's going to end. It's infinite, like we can't guess when Skyrim's finally going to see its final days. But things like this are going to keep it alive forever, absolutely forever. Skyrim is already a game on its own, 13 years later, still being played by millions, still being talked about by all these people. And when you got projects like Skyblivion and Skywind that when they get released, there's no chance anything's taken over, man. It's a 3,000-year-old tree, and everything else is just a ceiling. But I'm very impressed with Skywind, what they've done, man. They've got so much hard work in front of them, and obviously behind them, with the level of shit they got to do, man, to adapt, to make Morrowind feel like Skyrim, but also make it still feel like Morrowind, because it's a very different game to Oblivion, and everything else that Bethesda's released is kind of an adaptation of the gameplay of Oblivion, and the style of play, I guess you could say, where Morrowind was definitely not. It was his very own sort of game. But they're doing amazing work, and they're keeping it as best they can to the original, and honestly, man, these guys have the hardest job, I think, but they're doing amazing work, and I can't wait to play it one day. And keep up the good work, man, because not only are there old fans that wish to play this in the Skyrim engine, but there's also new fans like myself that haven't played Morrowind before, and we can't wait to jump into the lore and the story of a game set 230 years before Skyrim and 30 years before Oblivion, so we, as new fans, we can't wait. So keep up the good work, and I hope you guys are doing good, and I hope it all goes well. Anyway, I'm out of here. I hope you guys have enjoyed, and look after yourselves.